I'm going to introduce you to two different methodologies about change and the steps that we go through in order to get through these changes. So there are two theories behind it. The one is called Kotter's and the other one is called Kaizen. So let's look at Kotter's first. When you want to implement change, you have to create a sense of urgency. Remember, we spoke about right at the beginning, let's pretend there's a fire next door, and how do you plan an evacuation? Well, we need to do the same kind of thing. We need to say, if we do not change, this is the problems we could experience. This is the danger we're in. And because we're in a dangerous situation, we need to move, we need to change, we need to grow, we need to develop. And so you create that sense of urgency. Then you go and you get some influential people together and you turn them into what is known as a guiding coalition. You get them to become a group that is going to be the front runners. They are going to be the scouts that go into the great unknown. But because people trust them and respect them, people will follow them. Then you've got to form a strategic vision. Okay, so you've got to tell them exactly what we are going into. Give them a vision of why it is important to get there. Let them feel that it's worth putting their blood, sweat, and tears into this process so that they might see the benefits. Then you enlist a volunteer army. So once you've got the coalition and they've created the vision, now you're going to start to get more people together and they're already going to be on the change process. So if these guys are confident and they show that they're engaged with the change, suddenly more people start to gather, more people start to move forward. And then there's something called the tipping point where you get momentum. Then you make sure that there are no barriers. So what you have to do is you've got to go ahead of this whole group that is going on this change journey, and you need to make sure that there's no excuses. So if there are excuses, you already start to take care of them. You remove obstacles, you remove barriers. Then you generate short-term wins. So when you hit phase one, you celebrate. You get together and you really do encourage each other and say, hey guys, we've gone this way, we might as well go further. And you celebrate the small wins. Then you sustain it. Okay, so you keep on communicating, you keep on encouraging, you keep on recognizing, and that starts to again build the momentum, and then you institute the change. So you get to the point where things have moved on and that we are seeing some differences. And then you keep on pushing, you keep on pushing. And you also then say, look where we started. This is where we are. Look at the data. And that encourages people to keep on moving. And then you create more urgency and you just keep on moving through these things in order to get that change done. Cotters is good for big strategic changes. Okay, so that's changes in your strategies, changes in where you are going in terms of your purpose and your mission, maybe taking advantage of extra opportunities in the external environment. But there's also something called Kaizen. And Kaizen is making small changes to make big changes. So if you were to tell me what you do when you wake up, so you wake up, you get out of bed, you go and have some coffee, maybe you have breakfast, maybe you go back, you brush your teeth, then you go and make your bed, and then you get ready for work, you pack your bags, you go to the car or to your transport, and you go to work. Now, is that the most efficient way? So, what the efficient ways are is we look at, okay, so we get out of bed, then we immediately make our bed. Then we go and we put on the kettle, but while we are putting on the kettle, we go off and do something else, like pack our bags. So, it's looking at all of these little processes that we do and start to make small adjustments so that they can save us time, save us energy, and save us costs. And that's what we do in organizations. So the founding principles of Kaizen is firstly that there needs to be teamwork. So how can we work better as a team? So if I work in my areas of strength, maybe I can then become better at giving you results. So, but look at the team and where the strengths are, and we try and line them up in the best possible way. Then personal discipline. Okay, so consistency, doing the same thing, the right thing over and over and over. And again, little things make big changes. Then we improve the morale. Once we start to see the data change, once we start to see the program moving forward, people get excited, and it's the team leader that's going to generate that excitement. Then, once we've gone through a process, we sit around and we do something called quality circles where we discuss what happened and if there are any changes that we can make. That then goes to suggestions for improvement, and then we make even more small changes, and then we go to the beginning again. So, this is really for processes, for sort of any kind of lines, any kind of productivity, if you are looking at making small little changes to make big changes, we use Kaizen. So now you choose either Kotters or you choose Kaizen based on what kind of industry you're in and also what kind of change you want to make. So then once you've done that, you actually go, okay, so this is where we want to get to. This is our destination. And we use what is known as a SMART goal to point where we are going. And so SMART goals are specific. Okay, so what will be achieved? Okay, in which department? Which actions will be taken? So we need to be very specific about what we are going to do. Then we need to make sure it's measurable. How will we know that we got there? We need to put some measures in place, some numbers in place, so that we know that we are going to get to our final destination. Then, is it achievable? If we don't have the resources, if we don't have the skills, and we go on this journey, it could set us up for failure. And if we fail on this, then it could stop us from making changes in the future. We need to make sure that it's achievable. Then we need to make sure that it's relevant. So, is it actually going to give us the results that we want? If it's not going to actually help us in the grand scheme of things, if it's not going to help us to achieve our vision, our mission, and our strategy, then what's the point of doing it? It needs to be relevant to the big goals. And then we also need to have a time base. We can't just say we're going to make changes and just never do it. We need to put ourselves under the pressure of time, and that will start to help us to uh, plan better. It helps us to move forward in a structured way and to discipline us to be able to do the tasks one by one until we achieve the goal. So we use SMART objectives and then we use a methodology. So either Kotters or Kaizen. Okay, so now on page 27, we're going to go through a process, and that's going to be summative assessment 4.3. So let's go to summative assessment 4.3. That's on page 27. So let's go there. Okay, so we've seen our SMART goals. Now here we go. Okay, so the first one is list two change management models. So we spoke about it, Kaizen and Kotters. What are the main concepts of the model? So go back to those two things and write down the main idea behind the model and then where you can apply it in your organization. So remember, Kaizen is mainly to increase productivity, to cut costs, to increase teamwork. So smaller things. Over here, Kotters is big strategic changes and changes that are going to help us to take advantage of opportunities. So these are the bigger changes, the more structural changes use Kotters, and the smaller efficiency changes we use Kaizen. Then now that you've analyzed the models, make a decision as to which one will be most suitable for your unit. Okay, so what unit do you work in? And based on the unit that you work in, which model would you use and why would you use it? Okay, so you're going to put that in and you're going to give me what you're going to choose, why you're going to choose it, and how it's going to be suitable. Okay, so now that you've done that, and that's quite a small section, so let's give you 10 minutes to do those two questions on page 27, and then you can join me for the next section of change.